Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to shorter attention, what I was doing and things like that. Hopefully it helps you out. You know, hopefully.
Oh, hi there, boys and girls. I'm Uncle Mason. Now, for those of you sitting at home who don't know who I am, you may be asking yourself, just who is Uncle Mason? Now, that's a very good question. I am a combat veteran, a college student, a lover of San Antonio and all things fitness, and I also love to refer to myself in the third person a lot. But enough about me. Let's get back to why we're all here. What I've been doing for the past year is slowly but surely working my way through this little book right here, the Combat Trauma Healing Manual. And I've been talking to folks about experiences in my own life, and my own recovery, trying to help people out and trying to help people avoid doing the same stupid shit that I used to do. So, if you guys are ready, we'll go ahead and get started. So today, boys and girls, what we're going to be talking about is Chapter 4 of the Combat Trauma Healing Manual. This part is talking about how did I change, and I'll be honest, this part is probably the most intensive part of this entire workbook. But before I start about that, I want to talk about some Honor 22 and some foundation stuff. So, coming up at the end of the month on April 29th, we're trying to get a group together to go run the Bone Frog obstacle course race up in Austin. If you'd be interested, go ahead and feel free to contact us on our Facebook page. Coming up sooner than that, next week actually, we're planning on taking a couple vets out to Guadalupe National Mountain Park to go do some camping and some outdoor recreational therapy. So if you want to be a part of that, the cost for the trip has been covered. There are a couple things you have to pick up on your own. Just get with myself or Erin and go ahead and let us know that you want to sign up. I'll get you the waiver. And yeah, next week we'll go do some camping, man. It's a 4-day weekend. It should be a lot of fun. For the foundation, we have our next fundraiser coming up, which is the Summer Sweat 5K, 10K. That's going to be at McAllister Park. Right now, registration is $40 for the 5K, $50 for the 10K. We also have sleeper runner sign up and a 1-mile fun run. All proceeds for that event are going to come back to the foundation to ensure that we keep the doors open, continue to work out, continue to work on our peer mentoring and support groups, which is our bread and butter. So yeah, that's basically what we've got going on as far as local community events for the Foundation Honor 22 are concerned. Now, to get back to why we're all here, the Combat Trauma Healing Manual is a 12-step program that was coming out by a guy named Chris Adsit that basically helps you rebuild your life after receiving a moral injury and helps you rebuild your life after some sort of trauma and helps you fight PTSD and live a better life. And so we've already talked about the first 3 chapters. We're going to talk about Chapter 4 a little bit today, and then next week we're caught up to Chapter 5. So we stopped at Chapter 4 back in October when I took my hiatus because, quite honestly, Chapter 4 is the hardest part of this book, and that's where you talk about what happened to you. So basically it starts off by talking about a little thing called silence versus talking. So let me find that real quick. So there's a quote, page 53, that says, "What we have learned from the Vietnam experience is that denial and silence are not beneficial ways of coping, but talking about it in some strange way seems to be therapeutic." Weird. "Naming and talking about our experiences, no matter how tragic, takes much of their control and power away. Silence and denial, no matter how subtle, only further break the heart and bring no healing to the scream." So basically, it's pretty straightforward. You want to deal with the problems, you want to get over what happened to you, you have to talk about them. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be vulnerable and let folks come in and help you out. But the only way you can do that is entirely up to you. So I always talk a little bit about my own life. I think it took me about 6 months of going to see a therapist and bullshitting before I admitted I had a problem. It took me an additional 5 months before I even talked about what had happened, of going to group therapy and shit like that. So almost a full year of going to therapy before I ever finally talked about it. And once I started to talk about it, once I started to go consistently every week and talk about it, my life kept getting consistently better and better. It was really weird how they correlated with each other, but it's true. So basically, the next part of that, you talk about a warm-up, which is basically your life before your trauma, your life before combat. What your life was like in high school, college, you know, pre-military, pre-service responder, whatever. What your life was like before the trauma, who you were as a person before the trauma. Then the hard part comes in and talks about what happened to you. You know, what you went through. It has you write down your own trauma in as much detail as comfortable to you, so you can talk about it, you can address it. Now, 90% of the people, when they get to this point in their own recovery, will stop because that is just too much for them to deal with. And it's okay to stop. It's okay to take a break. What's not okay is to never come back to it. So chapter 4 is really, there is no time frame for it. You take as much time as you need with it. So if it takes you a couple days, a couple months, hell, if it takes you a couple of years, what matters is that you are addressing it, you are talking about it, you are doing something every day, no matter how small, to get to leading a better life. So the next 2 parts, we're talking about what your life's been like since your trauma, talking about how all these symptoms have affected your life and what kind of things you've done to fight them. And then finally, again, this is a book that is based on healing from moral injuries. So the last part it talks about is inviting Jesus into your pain, praying for it, asking for forgiveness, asking for salvation. If you are not a Christian, you can do so with other faiths. Even if you're not religious, you can still, instead of inviting, a religious figure into your life, you can still invite someone, a trusted relative, things like that into your life to help you out. So that is chapter 4. Basically, we are caught up now, so now from here on out, I'm going to be talking about the rest of the book from chapters 5 to 12, and we're going to knock this out of the park. So, again, if anybody here that's watching these videos has any questions, comments, concerns, whatever the case may be, go ahead and comment below. I will address those whenever they come up in the next couple of videos. And we'll go from there. We'll continue to knock this out of the park. We'll continue to look after one another, and we'll continue to make our own little pieces of the pie a little bit better. So with that being said, I've got some push-ups to knock out, and then I will get out of your hair. Alrighty. Alright everybody, as always, stay fit, stay active, stay motivated, regardless of what you're doing with your life, regardless of what sort of physical activity you're doing. Even if you're just going for a hike, it doesn't matter. You're still getting out, you're still doing something other than hanging out in the house. That's what this is all about, okay? Get out of your comfort zone, do something you love every day, do something small every day to build towards your ultimate goal, and I promise you at the end of it, you will start leading a better life. So, that's been Uncle Mason for another Story Time with Uncle Mason. You guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.